Hey friends, Ash here with Gents, and today I'm coming at you guys with 10 cheap fragrances that are killer for spring. Now, I know that with everything going on right now that fragrances are maybe not the most important thing, but I'm gonna keep these videos coming. That way, if it's something you look forward to each day, I've got a video out for you guys, whether it's a review list or whatever. In this list, I've got 10 different fragrances, some that I like more than others, and I'll let you guys know which ones those are. But I tried to cover just a bunch of different bases and approach springtime fragrances from a few different perspectives. So some of these are going to be more of like your versatile blue kind of fragrances, your compliment getters, your wear anytime, anywhere kind of fragrances. And a few of these are going to be more on the unique side, maybe more refined, a little more gentlemanly kind of fragrances. So with that out of the way, let's jump into this. First up is an obvious one for any cheap list right now, any cheap springtime list. This one seems to make like 90% of them, and for good reason. It's this one, L'Homme Ideal Cologne by Guerlain. Now, this fragrance has been discontinued. It was replaced by Guerlain L'Homme Ideal Cool, which I have done a review on. In my opinion, this one's actually better than Cool. So between the two, if I could keep just one, it would be this one right here. But unfortunately, this one apparently didn't sell all that well, or at least not well enough for Guerlain to keep it around. So before too long, I imagine the stock of this one is going to start selling out, and then it's not going to be available for such a cheap price. But as of this video, it is. This one is actually one of the cheaper ones on this list. I believe it's right in the $20 range after discounts from FragranceNet or Fragrance X. This one is a little bit of a unique take on warm weather fragrances because it features almond. So it's got this creamy sort of undertone to it, but it works really well. There's also vetiver and neroli in here, along with a citrus blend, most prominently orange and grapefruit, along with a little bit of bergamot. So this one does have some of those refreshing, juicy facets that you'll find in fresher, warm weather fragrances. But as I said before, it does have that creamy almond and the bit of vetiver and the dry down. That one can be worn just as easily by somebody middle-aged and older as it can somebody younger. But if you don't like almond and fragrances, if you're more the type that really likes just, you know, ambroxan and bright freshness, then that one may not be for you. For me though, that one's a fantastic release, one of my absolute favorites on this entire list. After that, we'll go to a Banana Republic fragrance. This one I've talked about a few times, and other YouTubers have talked about this one as well, but it bears repeating. This is a very good fragrance when you consider that this is a fragrance released by a clothing store that a lot of people are going to find in their malls all across America. And it's this one, Banana Republic 78 Vintage Green. So this one is part of the Icon line from Banana Republic. They had the initial 5 fragrances. Each one had a different year designation. So this one's 78 Vintage Green. Then they had 3 fragrances that came after this without the number designation, the year designation. And then recently they had 4 more come out in colored bottles. But this is from the original run, the first 5. It's got fig, orange, bergamot, green notes, and green tea in here. Obviously, the name of the fragrance is Vintage Green, so that tells you what they're going for here. This is a green type of fragrance with the tea undertone. The fig is a little bit of a nuance. It adds this nice little pop of fruitiness, and then you've got bergamot as well, which is going to be the main citrus that you pick up here. It's a little bit sweet, fresh, a great fragrance for springtime, very inexpensive, and the presentation on this actually pretty nice as far as fragrances go from places like Banana Republic. Now you may be turned off a little bit from this because it is Banana Republic, and Banana Republic does have some cheap smelling fragrances. Some of the fragrances they put out are not that good, but in general, the Icon collection is full of little hidden gems, and Vintage Green, in my opinion, the best of the bunch. After that, we'll go to this one, Salvatore Ferragamo UOMO Casual Life. This one out of the UOMO line, in my opinion, is the best for spring. Now there's also Urban Feel. That one you could wear in spring as well, spring or summer. That one a little heavier on the ambroxan, gonna be more of your typical blue fragrance, at least as far as the Ferragamo UOMO line is concerned. So if you didn't want to go for Casual Life, you could go for Urban Feel and wear that one in spring as well. But for this list, I've chosen Casual Life. This one does have ambroxan, just like Urban Feel that I just mentioned. It also has cashmere, it's got violet leaves, it has coffee. So it's a little bit of a different take on a springtime fragrance. Casual Life does have some lemon in here. So it is going to have that little bit of, you know, fresh, sweet pop off the top, which you expect from spring and summertime fragrances, that little bit of citrus. But the coffee in here is what's gonna set it apart. And that coffee, it shares with the original UOMO and UOMO Signature. Though in the original UOMO, it was technically tiramisu, so it was like a sweet take on coffee, but that's where the coffee note here comes into play. It's in the Salvatore Ferragamo UOMO DNA. And that one actually has popped up at TJ Maxx stores and Ross stores and Marshalls all across America, kind of off and on. Sometimes you'll see it there, sometimes you won't. But that one, out of this bunch, may be the easiest one to get your hands on if you didn't want to order it online. So that one I feel like gives you just a nice change of pace, gives you these this slight gourmand touch, though not heavy-handed, and has a good amount of violet in there, which gives you this kind of watery green effect at times. Casual Life, solid fragrance. Next up is a fragrance that is hard to find sometimes at discounters. As of this video, it's available for a good price for under 30 bucks. It's this one, MISSONI Pour Homme. This is actually, I think, called MISSONI Parfum Pour Homme, but MISSONI. I have a tester, so mine has no cap, but if you buy the full presentation, it actually has a magnetic cap. It's a very nice presentation overall, especially considering the price, and the atomizer on this is quite good. As you can see there, you can control the amount that you're spraying out very easily, kind of like Dior, like a Christian Dior atomizer. It's not quite that good, but it's close. This one has grapefruit, lavender, lemon, and birch in here. Now this gets compared to Bleu de Chanel, the Eau de Toilette by Chanel. So to an extent, you could pick this one up and have a much cheaper fragrance than Bleu de Chanel that's gonna give you a very similar effect to Bleu de Chanel. Like Bleu de Chanel, this does have a good burst of ginger in the opening that mixes along with the citrus. Some of the main differences between this and Bleu de Chanel is that this does not have incense as one of the notes. Incense in Bleu de Chanel, of course, one of the most prominent notes in the entire fragrance. There's also no mint in here, which there is in Bleu de Chanel. There's no vetiver in here, which there is in Bleu de Chanel. There is, though, birch in this one and oak in this one. And oak as a woody note is one that typically is going to give you a little bit of spiciness, a little bit more than some of the other commonly used woods like sandalwood, for example. So with the birch and the oak that's in here, it is going to give you a little bit of a slightly spicy pop with the woods, though as I mentioned, it's missing the mint, missing the incense most prominently. So those are some of the bigger differences between this and Bleu de Chanel. That one is, though, very good quality. When you spray it on, you don't go, oh God, this smells horrifically cheap. It's actually quite good. And as I said, if you get the full presentation, it's got a magnetic cap and everything. So it does have a nice look to the presentation, a nice feel to the bottle, and the fragrance itself smells of good quality as well. And just like Bleu de Chanel, that one, extremely versatile. You can wear it day, night, office, casual wear, date night, whatever. It'll get the job done. From there, let's go to this one, 1920, The Origin. You can pick this one up for quite cheap from discounters. It does have this kind of flimsy metallic bottom and then a glass top, though it does look nice in my opinion. This one has cedar, cumin, tea, patchouli, and cardamom as some of the notes in the fragrance, and this one gets compared to Cartier Declaration. Cartier Declaration. And it is quite similar to that fragrance, though this one is more affordable. If you hate cumin as a note, that may turn you off from this fragrance, though to me the cumin does not come across too funky in this fragrance. Some people with cumin, it will come across like body odor. So that's why I bring that up. Sometimes in some fragrances, cumin is used heavily and strongly, and it comes across like sweat or body odor, and it's just very off-putting. People don't like that smell for obvious reasons, but here I don't have that issue, at least not in a strong way. I have done a review of that fragrance in the past, so you can check that out if you want more information on the scent. That one to me is one that's not going to be for your younger guys out there. Going to be more for middle-aged and older. It does come across a little more sophisticated, just like Declaration does. And that one is going to be a day or night fragrance in my opinion, and best suited for spring and fall. That's not really one that I think carries over as well into summer as some of these other fragrances. Some of these are spring, summer. They work great in either one of those. This one more spring, fall. Up next is one that I've owned for years and just haven't really talked about. I bought this when it was brand new, had the intention of reviewing it, and just never did. It's this one, Oscar de la Renta Gentleman. Now, this bottle, some people are gonna love, some people are going to hate. Obviously, it's shaped like a domino. And then you take the top off, and this bottom half is actually the bottle, and the top half is the cap. It has champagne, cardamom, grapefruit, and oolong tea as some of the notes in this fragrance. So definitely marches to the beat of its own drum. Off the top of my head, can't actually think of another fragrance that specifically uses oolong tea. I know they're out there, it's just off the top of my head. This is the only one that I can think of. There's also a little bit of vetiver in here, a little bit of rosemary. This is not your typical hyper versatile blue fragrance. It's different, and it's one that may need to grow on you a little bit. The way that it comes across initially is this almost like muted sweetness with this little bit of oolong tea in the background, a touch of champagne. It's one that I can't think of something that smells the same as it, and for the price, it's actually really cool. Some people I've had smell that fragrance and they think it smells fantastic, think it smells amazing. Other people I've had smell that fragrance, don't like it. So that one is a little more divisive than the other ones in this list. That one to me is a little more middle-aged and older. Now, younger people could wear it obviously if they like it, and there is a little bit of sweetness in there, but it's not heavy-handed. It's just the way that it comes across with the vetiver, rosemary, oolong tea. These notes seem to be more for, as the bottle states, a gentleman, somebody that's a little bit older, somebody that's, you know, out of their early 20s, mid 20s. It would work better for somebody a little bit older. Middle-aged and up is what I'm trying to say. The reason I didn't review that when I first picked it up is because it didn't grab my attention right away. First couple times I wore it, I was like, wishy-washy. The more that I have worn it over the years, when I get a chance, it's grown on me. So be aware of that, and maybe that type of fragrance for you as well. When you first spray it on, you may be like, don't know about this. And then, you know, a number of wears later, grows on you, and you appreciate it a little bit more. From there, let's go to a blue fragrance. And this one says blue right on the bottle, so I mean, there's no denying it. It's this one, Jimmy Choo Man Blue. And this is a fragrance that I hated the first time that I smelled it. I smelled this in my local Sephora, picked it up, sprayed it on skin, sprayed it on a tester strip, walked out, and I was like, wow, this is unbelievably boring. Now, to be fair, it is still kind of a boring fragrance to me, but for what it does, it's not that bad. This to me is kind of an entry-level blue fragrance. If you don't want to spend too much money, but you want to have a fragrance that has versatility, that has the compliment factor, that has that ease of use where it can be a dumb reach, where you're going out the door, you just grab it, spray and go. This will do all of those things for a very low price. Now, for people that have smelled lots and lots and lots of fragrances, people that own a lot of fragrances, people that have smelled all these new blue releases that come out, it seems like month after month after month, this is not gonna move the needle. This is not doing anything hyper unique. This is not anything that's really attention grabbing for people that have experienced a lot of different fragrances. That is all 100% true. But if you're a guy who wants to spend a small amount of money and all you care about is something, again, with versatility, ease of wearability, and complement factor. This will do those things for you. So the notes are on the back of the bottle here. This is a tester. It's a woody aromatic leather with a top of clary sage and black pepper, a mid of leather and cypress, and a base of sandalwood and vanilla. There's also ambroxan in here as well. And yeah, this one is just a sweet ambroxan-y kind of fragrance with a little bit of spice in there. A touch of leather, but not too much. And it's what it is. Easy to wear, people-pleasing, Jimmy Choo Man Blue. From there, let's go to this one, Davidoff Run Wild. Now, Davidoff does not get a lot of respect nowadays. They had some hits back in the 80s, back in the 90s. Nowadays, though, they're viewed as this kind of cheap brand that nobody really pays any attention to. So when Run Wild was announced, a few people got excited, but not too many people. The bottle actually looks like you took the cool water bottle and then, you know, made it a little bit shorter and wider. That's essentially what this looks like. And then when this came out and people smelled it, got a lot of hate. It's got ginger, lavender, fir resin, and cinnamon, along with a bit of tonka in here. Now, this gets compared to Paco Rabanne Invictus. So this is a fragrance that does have a bit of that Invictus DNA in it. So if you're a fan of Paco Rabanne Invictus and you want something that's maybe a little bit fresher, a little bit less cloying that you could wear in the springtime, check this out because this is inexpensive. It does share similarities to Invictus, but it's much easier to pull off in warm weather. Now, it's not the exact same as Invictus, and to be honest with you guys, between Invictus and Run Wild, I'd rather wear Run Wild. I've said it a bunch of times, I'm not an enormous fan of the OG Invictus, though I know a lot of you out there are. And I just think this one is overall an easier fragrance to wear than that one. There is sweetness in here. There's that bubblegummy sweetness that is in so many modern mint releases, so if you hate that, probably not going to be a fan of this one. But if you don't mind that, the way that the ginger comes across, the way that there's that little bit of creamy sweet tonka in here, which is everywhere, then check this one out because it's actually not as bad as some people have made it out to be. And for a lot of people out there, it would actually be a killer fragrance because it is, again, a compliment pulling sort of fragrance, a versatile sort of fragrance. After that, let's check this one out. UOMO by Zegna. And this bottle, I've never really been a fan of. I mean, maybe some of you out there are, but I just don't really like it. It's essentially just this tall, thin bottle with these rims in the glass, and that's it. This one is very affordable though, and this one, along with UOMO Casual Life, is probably the one that I've seen the most at TJ Maxx's because I've seen this one many times while shopping there. This one gets compared to Yves Saint Laurent L'Homme Libre, or L'Homme Libre, depending on how you want to pronounce it, and I'm terrible pronouncing anything in French, so sorry for that, but this gets compared to that fragrance, and that one is discontinued now, and the price for it has gone up. So if that's a fragrance that you like and you're looking for a cheaper alternative, check this one out. It's got citrus, bergamot, vetiver, cedar, and violet leaves as some of the notes in the fragrance. It's got this nice briskness to the scent. It's some people would say a little bit sharp in the opening, but very brisk, refreshing, bright sort of scent. And the violet plays a major role in that fragrance. That's one to me that's best daytime wear. Daytime casual or office wear in springtime. That's when that one really shines. It's not one that I think of as day or night. That one for me is just a daytime fragrance. And let's wrap this up with one that I have talked about a few times, but not for a while. Boss Bottled Tonic. This one did not seem to catch an enormous amount of love in the community, but I actually really like Boss Bottled Tonic. I always have liked this one. It really has grown on me over time, and I still like it a lot. Ginger, apple, bitter orange, grapefruit, and cinnamon. It does have the DNA of Boss Bottled, so the original DNA is in here. When you spray it on, you can pick that up, that mix of apple and cinnamon that everybody knows from the original Boss Bottled, but this one obviously takes it in a much fresher direction. Now, the most recent tonic fragrance is Azzaro Wanted Tonic, which, just like this one, came with a light blue coloration for the fragrance. That one basically is horrible. This one, though, does what I feel like a tonic fragrance should do. It takes that DNA that everybody knows, that lots of people love, that's been worn countless times over the decades, and freshens the heck out of it and just makes it super easy to wear in springtime. So if you're that kind of guy who has been wearing Boss Bottled for a long time in fall and winter, and you were wearing it in spring and summer, maybe when it was too cloying, and you wanted something very similar to that DNA, but fresher, that's going to be more well received, check this one out. Basically modernized. It's like you took Boss Bottled and modernized it. You could almost say they took Boss Bottled and turned it into a little bit of a blue fragrance, but I like it. I think that one's super easy to wear, very versatile, and I don't have to think twice when I spray that one on. I know people are gonna love it. I know that it's not gonna come across too strongly, too in people's faces, so big fan, big fan. Boss Bottled Tonic, wrapping this one up. So there we go, guys. 10 different fragrances that you can check out for this upcoming spring, and some of these will carry over into the summer as well. If you smelled any of these, let me know what you think about them in the comments below. As always, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys again tomorrow with another fragrance video. Stay safe out there.